We're never going to talk about that ever again.
What's going on, guys? You are now tuned in to another episode of No Cap Allowed. I'm your host, Mello, and on this show, we talk about any and everything, but most importantly, we don't do no capping, all right? Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, comment, and share. All of your support is greatly appreciated. Now, without further ado, we have a special guest, right? Miss Laura. How are you?
Good.
That was adorable. So, Laura, have you seen the show before?
I have.
You have?
I've seen
okay.
a couple episodes.
What do you think about it?
I love it, actually.
You're capping already.
No, it
already.
feels... it's like I get to know y'all in a different sense of life, like in actual life, instead of just like the 9 to 5 that we do. Sometimes.
You know what? That's really cool that you say that, because a lot of people just know people at work,
right?
And then when they get to see them outside of work, it's like, oh, it's a whole different person.
Totally different,
you know?
yeah.
So I think
sometimes, I mean, sometimes I'm like, I'm not surprised, but yeah.
Would you say you're different outside of work than you are at work?
Oh, that's a tough question. I don't think so. I think I'm a little more relaxed outside of work, because I'm still kind of getting my sea legs, which is weird because I've been there for almost 3 years. But I mean, I was used to the easy serving job for
that is definitely
20.
Not easy. So you don't put easy on that. That is not easy.
But I mean, I'm good. Yeah, I'm pretty normal outside of work.
Yeah,
I'm a little more spacey, I think, outside of work, because it's just ADHD, and I'm just usually a mess naturally. Right. So,
so obviously we work together.
Yep.
You work in the internet department.
I do.
What exactly do you do for those who don't know?
So I'll go back to what Jordan said previously. We basically take all the incoming calls for sales, any website that you're on, cars.com, stuff that you probably didn't know, Auto Trader, Progressive. Honestly, I've seen a lot more of those lately coming through TrueCar.
Progressive, like the car insurance Progressive?
Apparently,
okay.
I think it's a new thing, because I hadn't never seen it until the last couple months. But I'm thinking maybe if people are quoting insurance that they're pulling from that. I don't know.
Makes sense.
Carfax, we've been getting a lot of those lately. But anyway, basically that comes to me every time you're on there. If you put your information in, for the people who don't know, which I tell my parents, or elderly people a lot of times, I'm like, if you don't want people to call you, take the steps. Yeah. But the hope is that you were on there, obviously, because you were looking for a vehicle. So as a real person, I make it my point to reach out to you immediately, because you were looking for something that I have, or I can at least try to have. Yeah. Whether it be information or the specific vehicle you're looking for. So instead of getting the robot answers or texts, you get the real person that's literally, you can buy and sell a car online. Don't have to ever see somebody in person. Like me, sometimes you have anxiety about going in public, and it'd be cool to just pick up your phone, text somebody, and be like, awesome. Like today, we've got a car about to be delivered to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Never met the guy. Exactly. I mean, and all I told him was like, send me a picture whenever you get it. That's all I asked. Yeah. So, but that's basically what we do. Yeah.
So how is it being, being a woman, obviously working in a predominantly male industry? There's a lot of women that are in the automotive industry, first and foremost, which I think is great. So let's applaud that one. Let's do that one. But at the end of the day, there's more men that work in that environment. So how is it for you? Like, what is your experience being working at the dealership?
I think there's different dynamics of the men that do work with me, and honestly, that can be for anywhere. Mm-hmm. I've always kind of gravitated towards men as friends. Mm-hmm. I'm one of those girls that don't like girls type of person, and I think it's just because too much anxiety and stuff around each other just explodes. But I actually enjoy the environment that I have. The pressure is a little harder because, and it's not the people I work with, it's the customers. I think they do have, there is a stereotype that men have more knowledge about vehicles. They've worked on them for longer. Mechanics are women or are not women, type of thing. thing
shout
coming
out to
out
the
of.
female mechanic we have that works in the back.
Yes,
shout
she
out to her.
does.
What's her name again?
Brittany?
I think so. Brittany.
think it's Brittany.
Shout out to you. Yeah. But no,
Yes.
that's cool though. Yeah. I'm
But,
sorry, I didn't mean to.
But as far as just like our dynamic at work, I don't feel the pressure near as much as I did.
Yeah.
But I think that was more in my head. Like I want to produce and I want to be as good, and you got to kind of learn where you fit in and use your female ability in a different way. I mean, I'm not going to always hit it off with a guy. I can't sit here and rap football with you.
Right.
You know, like I'm not going to be
Right.
like, yeah, the game last night. But I can humanize myself enough to where they're like, maybe I'm like their daughter, or, you know, they see something else in me.
Right.
Women seem to trust me a lot. Obviously, I think it's just a pressure thing.
Yeah.
But it was hard at first. It's getting a lot easier. And I think I've got the leadership that really supports me. Shout out to Chase.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jamel, because
Yeah.
you taught me a lot, actually.
it. Yeah.
A lot. And Bradley, obviously.
Yeah. That's
By the way,
awesome.
Chase was like, I want to go on the show. I was like,
Listen,
you get a shout out every episode.
I know, right? Like everyone, we've shouted him out, right?
Every
and I
single
told him,
time.
I'm like, dude, you need to come get on this show, man. So I think
He's like, I've never been invited. I was like, that is not true.
that is cap, Chase. That's cap.
Cap.
That's big cap.
Total cap.
So matter of fact, he
100%.
can't come because he capping. No cap allowed.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, you're invited.
Right, for sure. No, I think that's cool though. That you've had a great experience thus far, and that you can sit here and say that you know, because some women have it difficult, you know, in certain areas of their occupations and fields and stuff like that.
Right.
So I think it's cool that you feel that way. Has there ever been a time where you did feel kind of, you know, slighted or that you weren't appreciated or anything like that?
At this job specifically, not really personally. I think the initial transition that we just went through in July, honestly, okay, let me rewind.
Yeah, hey, no capping, no cap.
Right. When I had originally started, I was in a really bad way, physically. So Gianni, shout out to G.
Shout out to G.
Miss him. He really gave me the leg up. He was supposed to bring me in as a receptionist because I was like, I need something easy.
Yeah.
Can't walk really well, so we'll get into that. But
Wait, I'm the host. We'll get into that later.
Sorry. We're never gonna talk about that ever again. But he brought me in as a receptionist the day I showed up. He was like, I'm gonna put you in this office. And I was like, oh.
You talking about the BDC?
Yeah.
Got
like,
you. Okay.
He was like, and I had no idea. And he's like, no, you'll figure it out. Like, you've been in sales. And I'm like, okay. So being at that pay rate and my age, it got to a point where I was like, this just isn't, there's just no incentive. And it was hard to, like, you know, there wasn't really room for raises. And I understood it. I understood the way the program was set up in that office. I did make the choice to leave last October.
So you left the dealership for those
I did. Yeah. Okay. I left last October just because I was like, I don't feel like there's any place to be promoted here for me. I was like, for me to move up would mean that one of the closest people to me would lose his job if I would even get that position. Yeah. And I'm still kind of in the mindset of, even if he didn't have that one, they wouldn't move me into that position. Which I've also had a lot of you guys be like, that's stupid to ever think. Like, but it went from leaving, and then I kind of learned my lesson because I went to a horrible job around the holiday season, and I didn't realize what I had when I left.
Got you.
And then I came back, and I tried to focus on learning, and I think that was my biggest issue at the beginning. I don't think it was necessarily that I felt lesser. I think it was just that I wasn't in a comfortable place. I didn't really know. Me and JoJo kind of started in that office at the same time. I mean, literally, he came in a week after I got there. Right. So we just kind of tried to grow it from where we were. And he had so much sales knowledge, and we kind of mixed like our personality knowledge with his sales knowledge and tried to build it. But I do think that putting in the time, especially in a place where like you're not comfortable, you haven't done this job before, I went in blind. to get the opportunity that I have now shows that somebody was watching, somebody did pay
Absolutely.
attention. And I think women have to give it to themselves and put the pressure on themselves to drive yourself to learn and drive yourself to get that opportunity. It's not everybody else's fault all the time. Whether you think people are looking at you like, oh, she's a girl, and like, I don't know if Laura's going to do this, or I don't know about doing this. It's up to you to prove that you can do it, whether or not they think that you can do it or not. So I think I've grown. I mean, even in just this last year, I think the first 2 years I was just kind of complacent, got away with the bare minimum, and now I feel like I actually am part of the team. I feel like I get involved in the guy conversations more.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I feel like a victory person now.
You made it to victory.
I'm wearing the colors.
Awesome. So Laura, you talked about growth. You mentioned growth. You've learned a lot of things through your tenure of being at the dealership. One thing that I know a little bit about you is, there was a situation, a time in your life where there was alcohol abuse. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
How did you get yourself out of that situation to where you are now? What was that growth process like?
So the growth process started basically by just going to the hospital. I had gotten to where I couldn't work at Fridays. I mean, my parents were basically like sending money because I couldn't work. Because my legs were swelling, and my hands and my feet, basically I had gotten to a point of if I touched anything, it was just searing pain.
Wow.
And that turned into not being able to walk. Everybody around me is going, your skin's yellow.
Yeah.
I was swollen to all, like, I've got chubby cheeks. That's natural. But
Ain't
it
no
was
wrong
like,
with chubby cheeks.
I got pretty eyes though.
There you go.
But it got to a point where it was bad. I mean, everybody around me is going, you're dying. I mean,
Literally.
we've seen this.
Yeah.
So Dustin took me to the hospital, and
Which is your husband?
right. That is my husband. I forgot.
We gotta shout out Dustin.
Shout out
to
Dustin.
Yeah.
Sweet guy, usually. No. So went in, and I had gone to doctors like the months leading up to it, and it was right after COVID, so it was they would like, the ER would just cattle call everybody into a room, and they were like, COVID testing. So a few times I sat in the ER for like 6 hours. Nobody talked to me. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to leave. Yeah. Blood pressure skyrocketing, having panic attacks, can't breathe, hands don't work, feet don't work. But finally, it was the first week of March in 21, admitted myself to the ER. I had gotten to where I wasn't eating either because I was drinking probably a fifth to a half gallon of whiskey a day. I mean, it was, and that didn't happen overnight. I mean, I had been doing it since I've lived here. I mean, 13 years. But it just got noticeable. I was falling a lot. I hurt myself a lot in the process. Lots of friends' hard lessons just telling me like you're literally dying. So I spent a week in the hospital on a serious Ativan drip, which if anybody doesn't know, that's basically like putting you in a anxiety pill induced coma. I mean, I was awake, but I wasn't awake. Because if people don't know, do not stop drinking cold turkey. If you are a heavy drinker, your heart can literally stop. You can have a stroke. You will have a heart attack. It is the one drug that will kill you from the withdrawals. So if it's that bad, and my friend Tara, she's went through the same thing. Shout out her because she's my saving grace. She gave me the hard truth that made me go. And so I spent a week there. They had to give me stuff to drain all the fluid out. I literally lost like 40 pounds just from the fluid I had retained by the time I got out. And then my parents actually took me for about a month and to recoup because at that time, because of pre-COVID, inpatient places wouldn't take people with liabilities. I still couldn't walk well, so went there, got the hard parents life lesson, and
I imagine.
I mean, I showed up on a Friday in a wheelchair because my stubborn sister, and God love her, like we've always been the ones that butt heads, but she left work, drove down from Illinois, and was like, "You're coming home. We got you." Tough love rehab is what they call. She was like, "He should interview us, so we tell the story."
Hey, come on, we'll do it. Tough love,
Tough love rehab.
Tough love, no cap. We will do it.
But they did. It was my sister, my cousin, and my nephew, and then my cousin's daughter. And they came. They limp as a biscuit. I mean, I was dead weight, so they had to move me into chairs. I fell multiple times, getting in and out of cars.
Wow.
Get to my parents' house in Illinois, and I got there on a Friday in a wheelchair, and by like that Sunday night, I was walking with a walker or kind of without.
Got you.
So it was hard. I mean, I didn't look at my medical stuff until I was of sound mind, because I was on all sorts of medication.
Now, all of this was going on while you were working at Fridays, you said?
Yeah.
Which is a restaurant.
Yes.
TGI Fridays.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So would you say that, what were you doing exactly when you were working there? Were you the manager, the bartender, the waitress, server? What were you?
Pretty much all of them, kind of depending on the day. I started there in like 2011, just served, and then I bartended a couple years toward, I don't even know when that was, 2016. I had worked at a liquor store for a little bit, and then went back and served and then managed.
Gotcha.
So I kind of did it all except cook, because I can't go in the kitchen.
Would you say the environment of working in that type of industry definitely assisted in, your downfall essentially with alcohol?
Which is weird, because like Tara, she's 5 years sober now. She bartends every day, and I'm like, I don't get it. Like, it's this willpower she has. Now, do I think I could do it? Absolutely. It doesn't bother me.
That's good.
I don't ever preach to anybody in a fashion of, because I'm sober, you need to be sober around me. That's not, I don't care.
Right. Because ultimately your decision is yours, and you control yourself.
Exactly. Everybody's sober for their own reason.
Right.
Your reason's not going to be the same as mine.
Right.
Dustin got sober because I needed somebody to be sober if it was going to work, because it was a matter of life and death for me.
Yeah.
Luckily I didn't die, which, like, we actually were talking about this at work right before I came over here, because Chase was like, "Tell me the whole story."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Okay."
So you're doing this twice.
Yeah, basically. But it got to the point. I mean, my family will still be like, "Do you realize how bad it got?" And I'm like, "I do. That's why it terrifies me."
Yeah. No. You mentioned the word terrifies. I mean, I don't drink, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I drink, but I don't drink. There's no liquor in my house, nothing like that.
Right.
If there is, somebody brought it, the type of thing. And for me, a lot of that comes from two different things, right? One of those reasons I don't drink often is because I can't hold my liquor very well, which is a blessing for me.
Yeah, it is.
Because it prevents me from getting drunk. And stuff like, I can go out to a party or whatever. I got a beer. By the second one, I'm babysitting.
Right.
I'm good, right? And Brad will make fun of me for that, because he knows I don't have any hair on my chest. But anyway, that's beside the point, okay? But the second reason is that I've had a lot of people close to me have gotten in car wrecks, have passed away, things like that, made a fool of themselves, things like that. And so for me, it's not hard for me to be around people who drink excessively,
right?
But it's hard for me personally to be there, because it brings up bad things,
right?
Bad memories and stuff.
Absolutely.
So it's, for me, a person who has never been through what you've been through is just so amazing to me to know that that's possible,
right?
Because I can't experience that. I haven't experienced that. You know what I mean? So it's crazy. It's just, what do you think makes drinking so desirable?
So for me, the biggest barrier that I had to figure out was like the root of it. Like why did I feel so comfortable? What was the point of it?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And that was
What
something,
makes it so comfortable? Yeah,
right.
right.
And it was something that I was like, I don't know, like forever. Well, while I was in the hospital, because our hospital here, Pathways is connected to it. So if you are admitted, because Pathways will take you if you're not a risk of like,
oh, okay.
And I would have been what you consider a risk.
Gotcha.
Because of all the underlying stuff that was going on inside.
Right.
So I had to be in a hospital room, but they have staff there, like doctors, therapists that work in tandem with those patients. So they would send people up to talk mental health.
Gotcha.
Which, I mean, for me, that was the root of it. It was never being able to go to a doctor and explain like, I'm never happy. So I don't know why.
Yeah.
And their answer was always, eat more vegetables, or like if you work out. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't get it. Like I want to have drive, but I literally don't have it. Like I'm not happy, and I have a very happy life. So there's something
and
wrong
it's
there.
funny you say that because, and I could be wrong. I could definitely be wrong. This is just my opinion.
Weird having my gum in my mouth.
No, you're good.
That looks a lot better.
You mentioned doctors will tell you, like you said, eat more vegetables, go running, drink water, things of that nature. Oftentimes, no, you're good. Oftentimes, they've never experienced the things that you've gone through.
Right.
They go to school to learn about these things and how the brain works and neurology and things of that nature. Right. And, they try to put in a math equation on how a person is dealing and coping when there is no math equation for it, because like you said, it's all up here.
Yep.
And so obviously you do have some individuals in that field who have been through those things, and just like police officers, you'll have them in the police force where they were felons before, and then things like that, right?
Right.
So I get that you have those people in that industry, in the medical field, but typically when you go to the hospital for a situation like that and they tell you these things, it's almost like it's a waste of time to even go. Right. It's not a waste of time.
Right.
But in that state of mind, you think it's a waste of time because they're not going to understand where you're coming from.
Right.
And so I've always wondered, how do you tell somebody you need help, right?
Right.
Knowing that when they go to get the help, that's not the right help that they need. That's not what they're looking for, right?
Right.
And I guess that's what programs like, and I'm just talking out loud or speaking out loud at this point, but I guess that's what programs like Pathways and things like JACOA, places like that are for. But initially, because I think you still have to get admitted to those places, right?
Right.
So why is it that you have to go get told by somebody that has never been in your shoes before what you need before you actually go get what you need?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. It was so it kind of makes sense because of the whole because there was a lot of people at the same time doing different things when I first got admitted, because obviously there's the hospital staff,
right?
Which Pathways is part of the hospital staff. It's weird, they work in tandem, especially overnight. They only have one or two ER doctors. Gotcha. So by the time they admitted me, they brought in. I think it's West Tennessee Family Practice. That's right there. But it was or your UT family. It's UT family. So they brought in doctors from UT after the initial ER doctor kind of analyzed my situation and was like, this is bigger than just an ER visit. So that's when they started asking kind of the harder questions. And I think it was more of a triage down.
Got you.
Because I was poked and prodded and pricked because I was a patient on house, basically. It was what disorder do you have? Is your heart okay?
Yeah.
Do you have diabetes? And everything else was good. But it was and I'm sitting here going, I drink a lot. And they finally, they pulled my records because I'd been there before for panic attacks and been honest about how much alcohol I consume, and they'd be like, well, maybe you should try to go to Pathways. It was never like, we'll admit you need to do this.
Gotcha.
And it was actually Tara who was like, you got to go in forceful and literally like give them no excuse.
Yeah.
For me, by the time I actually did that, just by looking at me, they knew what the problem was. So there was actually an instance where there was two dividing factors while I was there, because there was a doctor that busted in the middle of the night, and like I said, I was on this weird drip of never knowing when I was awake or asleep. I texted people, I don't remember sending them texts.
Right.
But he comes in and he's, you have to have a liver transplant or you're gonna die. And it was like, and I'm like waking up, and Dustin's, and my iPad was sitting on the back of the bed, and he starts cranking it up and it just crushes my iPad. So it turned into this big thing. Yeah. So they like remove him from the room, and then they bring in like psychologists, and they're like, that obviously here's an anti-anxiety horse pill to knock you out a little bit. But finally, I think the last group of people that I ended up working with the last 3 days was specifically about mental health. And I think that's their program if it gets that bad. Obviously, they've got to treat the emergency factors first. Yeah. I did I think 3 MRIs, 2 CT scans because of the neuropathy. They had to obviously check my brain, make sure there wasn't nerve damage, which there's still a little bit of nerve damage. It'll probably be there forever. Yeah. It's nothing big though. It's just pings in my fingers and my toes sometimes. But the final answer, and I guess it was more of like they kind of have to get it out of you because they don't know. Like their job is to pull that out of you to get to the root.
Which you mentioned you were honest with some of the stuff you were dealing with. So that's the important part.
100%. Like, I mean, how many people go to the doctor and they're like, how many drinks do you have a week? Right. Oh, I have like 1 or 2. Exactly. And you're like, you drink every night. When you get to a certain age and you realize like stuff's getting bad and you don't know, you can't stop it on your own. Right. Be honest at the doctor, please. Yeah. If the first one sloughs it off, go to the next one. Yeah. Be honest again. Right. That's it's not just always fruits and vegetables. Yeah. They help.
Right. But that's definitely the beginning of helping yourself is being honest. And I think the moral of your story is obviously you had an issue with drinking. You had to go get help for that. But the root of it, like you said, was the mental state that you were in. Yep. If you don't mind me asking, what put you in such a mental state that drove you to drink heavily?
So I don't think I'll get emotional because I've kind of dealt with the grief by now. But my grandma passed in 2017. Okay. I wasn't there when she passed, so I didn't get to see her. I was an hour late, which was, I mean, it kind of obviously was a monkey on my shoulder for a while. But the honest to God truth was I was drinking before I left to go. So it was my fault that I was late, and that's what set with me for most of my life. I mean, after the fact, it was the guilt, and that turned into just drinking to get over it. Financially, I mean, we were making it, but we were barely making it. Right. It got much worse in 2019 when Dustin got cancer. Oh, wow. So he got cancer September of 19, colon cancer. This man flew through chemo, flew through radiation, like shout out, because he was taking radiation and going to work still. He was doing chemo and he would go to work on the weekends.
People don't understand how difficult that is. Like that's unworldly.
Like
right
but he was like, we got to survive. So it was a survival mode, but also self-destructive at the same time because and of course, the whole time he's going through surgeries and more chemo. That led up to March 20th, which was basically when the shutdown happened. So it was like we went right from cancer to
boom, boom, boom.
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. COVID ruined most people's lives. A lot of people went through a lot of struggles during COVID. So that's where it spiraled. I mean, it was just, I put on a happy face, holding all this guilt, and really I was just drinking to put that happy face on every day. I mean, I would drink a bottle. I would have to drink at least 100 milliliter of Jack to even go to work.
Wow.
Like, I wanted to be buzzed before I walked in the building, and then I would just drink the entire shift.
Yeah.
I would drink in the cooler and go talk to my tables. I mean, it was, and the whole, I mean, most of our friend group at that point was doing the same thing. I mean, we were all just like, get through the night. It was terrible. People were awful waiting on them after COVID.
Yeah.
Sorry we shut down, but y'all didn't have to come out like that.
Right. Exactly.
But that, for me, that's where that was the root. And never being diagnosed with anxiety and depression, and then finally like feeling the relief of like, sometimes somebody needs a pill for antidepressant. Like, you have some people's brain needs that chemical. Never thought I needed it till I needed it. And now I'm like, if I don't have it, who knows where I'll go.
Yeah. That's interesting because it was never that I didn't believe in anxiety or having mental health issues, things of that nature. It was never that I didn't believe in it. It was always that I didn't accept that I have those same issues too. I didn't know how to identify it.
Yeah.
I was raised by my mom, which was, she was a single parent, single mother, for most of my life. And
she was in the
Air Force.
Yeah,
Yeah, she was. Look at that. So you have seen the show. Okay. So, she was a single mom. Shout out to my dad though. He's been awesome. He's been in my life since I was 5, 6, something like that. But he's been in the military. Nice. So he's had to support us from a distance by being overseas and things of that nature, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, so my mom raised me to, when there's a problem, identify the solution to get through the problem.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So I've always lived by that way.
Absolutely.
And as I've gotten older, I've realized that that's a great attribute that I have.
It is.
But also, I have to learn when I feel, pain inside or any sort of discomfort, that it's okay to deal with that too.
Yeah.
Right? And it wasn't until I turned 30, which is crazy, that...
See, family, he is over 29. I was wrong. You're closer in age than...
It wasn't until I turned 30 that I realized that I also have mental health. I don't want to say the word issues, because issues sounds like it's
a big problem.
Ongoing, actually. But it's not. Yeah. I just understand that what my tics are. And I think that that's important for people to identify those, because it keeps you from self-destruction. Yeah, right?
Identify your trigger.
Identify your trigger. And this sounds so simple, but for me, one of my triggers is cleanliness, right?
I wish that was my trigger. God, I don't like to clean. My mom will tell you my whole life.
And so it's like, and it's not to an OCD matter, right? I used to hear that I was OCD all the time, and it used to not bother me, but in my mind, I'd be like, who wouldn't want to be around somebody who's not clean and orderly and neat?
Yeah,
right?
no, yeah.
You know what I mean?
feel like OCD is way more in depth than people think it is.
Exactly,
yeah,
right?
Like,
so for me, my anxiety comes from, okay, if I know I have company coming over, I don't want to make excuses as to why. You know what I'm saying? Like when you come in the house, it's going to be nice, whatever the case is.
100%.
Things of that nature. And to dive further into that, because I don't want to offend anybody or make anybody feel any sort of way or whatever. Right. But this is just me I'm talking about. In my mind, if I know you're coming over, I want to make sure the house is presented properly, right?
Because it's comfortable for me, and because I think it's comfortable for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my issue comes from, like, if my kids are just absent-minded, they leave stuff around, whatever the case is. You leave the refrigerator door open. You got tops everywhere, clothes everywhere.
That's a dad thing.
That's a dad, right? So that's
you
my
pay
point.
The electricity,
right. And so that's my point. Like, for me, those things were normal. Like, I felt like those were things that were supposed to be
the focal point.
That's what it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
And I realized that it's a big tick for me because my mind gets cluttered. I can't think
Yeah.
properly. Some people function really well in a cluttered environment, in a mess,
Right.
because they know where everything is. So to me, it may seem like a mess, but to them, they know exactly where everything
Right.
is. They can find it, and that's
Right.
totally fine. That's
Right.
totally fine. But I've experienced where people don't want to be around me because they know. No, you're smiling, you're laughing. I'm so serious though. People don't want to be around me because they feel like they have to be neat and tidy.
I get it.
Nothing can be out of place.
I get it.
And that's not the case. It's just when you're done with it, put it back.
Right.
When you're not using it, cut it off.
Right.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
mean, if you take the last drink of the milk, throw it away.
Throw it away.
I mean,
right?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
If you knew my mom, I mean, these are like the golden rules of Kimber Spencer's household. Like, for real.
And it's nothing, and I don't want to say this like people are like, well, people are going to make mistakes. People are going to do this. People are going to leave the light on. That's not about, I'm saying when it persists.
Right.
That's when it becomes an issue for me, So things like that are like some of my tics. And I've got some other anxiety issues too. But the point of me saying all that is that I've identified it and I know how to prevent it.
Right.
So even if that means I got to be on your ass the whole time you're over here, like, I'm going to do that.
I feel like I'm at my house again growing up.
Because I don't want my anxiety to be through the roof. You know what I'm saying? Which
heightens other people's anxiety too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now my house, you ain't got to worry about that because my dogs will make sure you're comfortable with making whatever mess you want.
Right. And like I said, everybody has their thing, but I just think it's important to identify because I've gotten to a point, Laura, where I just was so and not about cleanliness. This isn't about that. But I've gotten to a point to where in my mind I was so frustrated. I was so just out of character.
Yeah.
And I couldn't identify like what my problem was. Like what is it? Like you could say, hey Jamel, and I'd be like, you got an attitude problem? Like, you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
You're like, whoa, wait a minute.
I mean, I have that like once a week, at least. At least.
And once I was able to identify what the root of the issues were, the causes were, it allowed me to understand that that's what. So Chase taught me something, right? He said something very simple.
Go figure.
Right?
Shout out
Chase. He said something that stuck with me 6 years ago. I want to say 5 or 6 years ago.
Is it the bucket story?
The bucket story?
Oh no, go ahead.
We might be talking about the same thing.
I don't know. You go first.
But essentially, what he taught me was, or what he didn't even teach this to me. That's the thing I love about Chase.
Yes, I know what you're about to say. He does,
right? He's
a year younger than me, and I'm like, well, you're a guru.
Right?
Where did
the funny
I go?
thing is, though, is he's not even trying to. I take that back. I think Chase is sly. He's slick.
He is.
Sometimes he knows you're going to take away something from what he said. I'm getting excited talking about him. That's crazy.
He's specific.
He is specific. Damn, I can't talk. He is very specific.
That's hard. That's a hard one. I'm sorry. I threw that one out there.
Yeah.
Pacific Ocean.
But what he said that honestly I don't think he thought that I was going to pick up, and it's so simple. He said it multiple times, right? A multitude of times is what I was trying to say. I'm trying to sound smart.
That's a good word.
Right? He said, I learned how to leave my problems at the door.
Okay.
I take what I got on my back. I put it in that box. I put it by the door.
That's what it is. The box, not the bucket.
One. That's the one.
Yes.
I walk in and everybody has a clean slate, essentially, to paraphrase. When he said that, it dawned on me and I was like, you know what? What I'm dealing with that situation or that person, Laura doesn't deserve that.
Right.
So why would I tarnish or damage or make my relationship with Laura strained because of what I've got going on?
What I brought with me.
You know what I'm saying? Like you don't deserve what I have going on.
I know. He's got to stop being mean to me.
I got to stop being mean, right? So when he said that, it's just like it clicked.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I was able to realize that it's okay, again, to deal with what I've got going on in here.
Right.
And it helped me because, again, my mind was cluttered. So it helped me say, I don't want my mind to be cluttered. I've got an issue with this situation. I'm going to deal with this situation. Because I'm a person that I don't sweep things under the rug.
Right.
But I also talk about messes. I leave the mess on the rug and I walk away from it. But when I turn around, the mess is still there. So it's driving me nuts.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I learned how to get a broom and dustpan.
Yeah.
Sweep that shit up.
Get rid of it.
Either get rid of it or put it in that bucket I was talking about, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, mental health is a real thing. And I've learned that. And I feel so bad for the people that are still dealing with it and don't know how to process those things.
And don't have the resources to help them.
And don't have the resources.
I mean, like, the homeless population's crazy everywhere. Like, even in Jackson, I'm just like, God, like, when I worked at the liquor store, we had a couple regulars, and one of them, he really didn't drink that much. I mean, and you know, the stereotypical, like, oh, homeless guy, they just go get wasted and don't give him your money.
Yeah.
And it was very different for this one. And he chose to basically live on the street. His family had tried to get him to come live with them. His name was Blue Horse. He was a Native American, older man. The liquor store I worked at would actually keep his money for him as like a bank because of things. And I'd watched him and his friend Huey really deteriorate over time, and it had a lot to do with mental health. And they just didn't have the resources. Anytime they went to the hospital, it was very much like treat the wound and put him back on the street. I mean, what are we gonna do? And it's sad that there's not that many resources, and it's still very taboo. And I'm like, addiction itself and mental illness. We've come a long way. I mean, after COVID, I think a lot of people realized like that sent a lot of people into depression because like it's like horse. They say if you don't have a horse with another horse, that horse will end up hurting themselves. Like they need that social interaction. Humans are the same way, and it hurt a lot of people. Like I said, that's why we couldn't get beds for treatment for months because they were just booked. I mean, even Lakeside in Memphis was like, no, we don't have anywhere to go. And they were like, it was that bad. Wow. But yes, Chase did tell me the box story. I said bucket, but 100%. I think that was a big thing that I'm still kind of learning is to not carry everything that's bad or that I think is going on bad inside of me into my everyday life. I struggle with it every day, but
we all do.
I mean, yeah, it's just what it is. But my sister-in-law actually, we talked because she's dealt with mental illness for a lot. She lost a baby at birth, basically. I mean, he had trisomy 18. So usually those babies don't make it the whole gestation. I mean, she did give birth, and her and Ryan, shout out to you guys. Love you. He was born. He was alive for a few hours. But that's where hers started. Now, obviously, that's a huge trigger. I mean, that's hard to deal with. She's a very strong-willed person. But we talked the other day, and she was talking about bullet journaling, and I was like, no, I'm not really a journaler. Yeah. And she's like, it's totally different. Yeah. Like, you don't sit down and say, Dear Diary. She was like, literally, if I'm driving, somebody cuts me off, and I honk my horn, flip them off, yell at them. She was like, I immediately write it down in the moment and then bullet underneath it, like, why did it make you that mad? And she was like, by the time I get to like the third reasoning, I realize it's not them who made me mad. It's something that I'm mad about from a year ago or from childhood. Like and so I've started doing that. Like I'll walk in and I'll see like something's a little messed up on my desk. And I used to be like, I just wish that. And now I'm like, does it really matter? Because I'm not mad about that. I don't care. I don't care about the broken glass dish. Yeah, she's talking about my kids, by the way.
Listen, I owe her like 1 million glass dishes because my
very
kids break them
expensive dollar store glass dish that they mass produced.
No, I think that's amazing. You said that was your sister-in-law that went through that?
Yep, Danielle.
Danielle, shout out to Danielle. She's a strong individual for having to go through that and still pushing through. So shout out to her. Just
Danielle Mays. She'll probably be like, you said my name. But her husband works for Madison County Sheriff's too, so they're good people.
Nice. So, Laura, we're going to shift gears.
Yeah.
Okay, it's time to turn that. What G Bill say? Turn that. That's what he say. Yeah.
Lord.
So we're gonna play Factor Cap.
Okay.
Okay.
I've been practicing, but I
been ready?
can't really.
All right. So Factor Cap. You know the rules.
Yes.
Okay. I'll make a statement. If you agree, you say fact. If you disagree, you say cap.
Okay.
All right. Cool.
All right.
Some of these you probably have heard. All right. So we're gonna see what you say. All right. So the first one, right, that I have for you, that everybody loves this question: broken content over rich and restless.
Broken content.
Broken content. So fact.
Yeah.
Okay. Why?
I was raised very humbly. I mean, not to say my parents aren't very well off, but I never knew it.
Yeah.
It was never something that, like, I mean, I'd see my friends in ground pools and I'm like, why don't we have that? We have an above ground, and like, and these are the first world problems. Like, what? They got an in ground pool. I've got an above ground. Dad always drove a truck until it was just about to die. You know, I mean, I never really grew up in a greedy lifestyle. It was never about materialistic things. It never has been. My dad actually built the house that they still live in. And it started from a real tiny, like 3-bedroom, barely, with 3 daughters. And so 5 people, 3-bedroom house, 2 bathrooms. And over time they grew and they built it, and it was a progression. It was never like, we got the money, we got to do it, and we got to do it big and do it now.
Right.
I think, and sorry if I offend anybody, but I think with the more money, the more greed comes.
Yeah.
Because I feel like as humans, naturally, I think once we do get something, we always want something a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I've said the statement to Dustin time and time again, because obviously a lot of people know the biggest arguments that you get in a relationship is usually based around money. Can't pay the bills, worried about the bills.
Yeah.
There's obviously other reasons you argue, but anytime it was ever me and Dustin, it was always, well, we're just struggling about the bills.
Yeah.
Said it a million times. If I was with the right person, I don't care if I live in a cardboard box, as long as I'm with the person next to me that loves me.
Yeah. There you
So
go.
that's my answer.
Okay. So you kind of answered the next one then.
Oh, no.
Factor cap. Love don't cost a thing.
No. I mean, it can cost.
Wait,
some
is it
of
factor cap?
a lot of.
Love don't cost a thing. Factor cap.
That's
I just snorted. Please. So don't even.
split answer. No. Do I need money to be in love? No. But
Split answer. I like it. Okay.
if we're talking cost as far as money,
It's subjective. It's how.
okay.
It's subjective.
So I'll piggyback on JoJo's answer, because honestly, like, in that, shout out to him, because that really like showed me more of the person he is.
Yeah.
Which is probably why my family's in love with you now. But great. Got to deal with that.
That's so funny.
But I definitely think that it does cost. I mean, you've got to put a lot of your emotions into somebody else. As we've got 2 friends they're our best friends, and they are also married. So we've got a best friend married couple group going on. But they say it all the time. They've dealt with their issues as far as health wise and gotten through it. And we look at our relationships as 100 and 100, like not 50-50. It's 100 and 100. If you've got 20% one day, your spouse should have 80 to make up that 100% for you together. If you've got 40 and they've got 40, you got 80 together, and you just figure it out. I mean, you do have to take a loss in a relationship when it lasts. I mean, you emotionally will take a loss. It'll cost you some mental health. I mean, if you're dealing with health issues and you got to be there, giving your husband a sponge bath after surgery, that takes a toll on you. And that would be the only cost that I could see coming out of it. But Money wise, no. I mean,
Yeah.
I would love the same person I love now, whether he was broke or not.
So split decision?
Split decision.
Fap.
Am I allowed to do that?
Okay.
Cacked.
right. Cacked. Right.
That was hard. That was hard to get out.
All right, next one. Factor cap. Do business with people you know, not people you don't know. Factor cap.
I guess it's how you know them. I would say fact.
Okay.
Because we both love music.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of really, really good musicians.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good rappers. There's a lot of good singers. TikTok has proven there's a
yeah.
lot of good musicians.
Oh, yeah.
You have to know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody.
Yeah.
I've had a few friends audition for American Idol and like the old version, not like the new one, the Simon Cowell one. And they're they're like, it's totally different than what you think. Like most of these people have managers that get them into that final audition. If you go for the cattle call, it's like you sing in front of these people, then you sing in front of these people if you get through, then you go sing in front of these other people till you even get to the judges.
Right.
And then you watch people with agents or somebody whose dad used to be in a rock band just go right to the front. So
Yep. I've experienced that.
yeah, I'm sure because you're very talented.
Well, thank you.
And
Right.
his teeth are way wider than mine.
Oh my
Years of drinking. No.
Next one. Factor cap. Toxic friendship over toxic relationship.
Romantic relationship, I assume. I mean, because friendship, I guess, is a relationship.
Subjective.
So
It's
soon.
subjective, however you want it to
I'm overthinking it.
be. Would you rather a toxic friendship or a toxic relationship?
God, neither.
Right, I know, right? Talk about mental health, right?
I feel like I've gotten rid of more toxic friends than, because there's been plenty of times when me and Dustin's relationship was toxic. We fed off each other as far as alcoholism. I mean, it was, we were always in everything together. So whether it was good or bad, we were there together. So I would say fact. Wait, what was the question again?
Toxic friendship over toxic relationship.
I would take toxic relationship because
so
you can get through. So
cap.
So
There you
I'm
go.
capping.
You cap.
Capping.
Okay.
Because I mean, a friendship, can it grow into a relationship? I guess, but probably not if the friendship starts out toxic. You got to have a friendship before you have a good relationship. You can get toxic in the relationship and get back out of it.
Yeah.
In a friendship, you're like, if you're already toxic, just being my friend, I don't know how it's going to go further down the road.
Yeah, right. No, I feel
So
it.
cap.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, that's one of those no-brainers. Like, there's no way in hell I'm taking a toxic relationship at all. Like, I'll take a toxic friend because I can get rid of you. I don't have to listen to you. I don't have to talk to you. You know, I can act like I didn't see your phone call, and I can deal with you later. But there's no way that I would deal with somebody who enjoy toxicity. There's no
I see
way.
that point.
You know what I'm
saying?
saying?
I was on a totally different spectrum from it, but I get that too.
There's no way I'm not coming home to a toxic relationship, especially after long days of work. Nothing like that.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
True.
So for me, that's a no-brainer. You know what I mean?
I'm splitting again because
We're back to fat.
flacked. I don't
Oh
know.
my goodness. All right, cool. So the next one, here we go. The glass is half full, not half empty. Factor cap.
Fact.
Ooh, why?
I've always said that for some reason I always went logical with it, and I'm like, well, technically, if you fill it up halfway, that's half full. If you drink it down halfway, that's half empty.
Yeah.
But I think you should always look at it as the glass is half full because, I mean, why? Why loathe and like that would be like just sticking in depression. Like,
Right.
oh, it's half empty, everything's bad. Like,
Right.
it's like the little green girl from the cartoon. Like, I don't even know what it's called.
Yeah.
But like the depressed one that's
Right.
just always sad. Or I think she's blue. I don't know. I don't have kids, so I don't know. But I do watch Bluey because it's funny.
Yeah.
It's a funny cartoon.
Factor cap. Toyota over Honda.
Really? Oh God. Cap.
Oh, okay. Look, Chase, it took her way too long to answer that question.
I will never knock Toyota because as far as staying power, I think Toyota can compare to Honda.
Yeah. Mike's watching
However,
too. So.
I hope not.
Is that a split decision for you?
No, I am gonna go with Honda. I know more people that have like literally Dustin's best friend has had his 1999 Civic forever.
Yeah.
It has 600,000 miles on it, and he still drives it.
Wow.
Like
that's awesome.
I tell everybody that story when they worry about like, oh, but it's a 2000. I'm like, is it a 1999 with 600,000 miles?
Crazy. That's wild.
Yeah.
I will say though, I had a 1999 Toyota Camry.
You listening, Mike?
Right, Mike,
Chase,
you listening?
Chase.
Right. That was one of my favorite cars I ever had because it was so reliable.
I will say Dustin is like dead set on a Toyota Tundra. Like that is his truck.
That's a great truck, yeah.
And I'm like, we'll find it eventually. We'll get there. But
the price tag is up there though.
They are.
Yeah.
They're good trucks.
They're great trucks. They really
No,
are.
Tacoma.
Tacoma.
They're up there
That's
too.
number
But
one
we
resale
could,
value.
but we could get it.
Yeah.
We got
Tacoma,
you.
you got it. Matter of fact, we got a red one, don't we?
Yeah, don't tell him that.
Yeah. Dustin, we have a red Tacoma. Call me. Ting.
No, call me.
Right, yeah, no, that's right. My bad. That's right. Well, call the store.
Call the store.
Right. So funny. All right, cool. So I'm gonna ask you one more on Factor Cap, and then we're gonna
Toyota
round it up.
Honda. That was rough.
All right, Factor Cap. It's better to be politically correct than brutally honest.
I mean, Cap. Because
okay.
I don't feel like I feel like we're in a generation of like offended. Everybody's offended by very minimal things. Like I can't come up with an example because it's off the cuff, but I feel like giving the straight answer as quickly as you can or being more. Now, as far as politically correct, am I just going to go start throwing around slang for people? No. Like, am I going to act like I'm every other person's race and it's cool that I talk a certain way? Absolutely not.
Right.
I'm not going to use profanity in any certain way as far as politically correctness. But like I said, we are in a culture right now where it's just like everything is offensive. You say one thing and you're like, well, that offends me. And I'm allowed to be offended.
Right.
And I'm a very honest person. I try to hold it back, but usually like if I'm mad about something, I'll just bring it up because I mean, that's another part of my
or you'll get to typing.
Yeah.
Does it sound good?
I'm bad on that keyboard too. I will get you 70
you
words
are.
per minute. I got you.
You are really good on that keyboard.
I told my mom that. She was like, "That's okay."
Yeah.
She was a national typing champion.
Oh wow, are you
college?
serious?
Yeah.
What? Hey, that's awesome.
I don't know what it was on a typewriter, so there's no telling.
Wow.
But
that's cool.
She wasn't impressed by my number. She'll never be impressed by my typing, but she is a.
So you're saying that you say it's better to be politically correct than brutally honest. That's what
No,
you're saying.
I think it's better to be brutally honest
than politically correct.
I mean, of course, there are moments you need to be politically correct. Right. I mean, obviously, you can't just go out talking crazy.
Right.
But I think maybe not brutally honest, but I think honesty is just get it out there. What's the point of beating around the bush if you feel the way you feel? I mean, you might as well just. Yeah. And the older I get, the easier it is.
Yeah. And so far everybody's chosen the same answer on the podcast. And I asked the same thing. I say, we all say that, you should be honest, but a lot of people can't handle that honesty.
Right.
So you mentioned JoJo. He made a great point. The problem is that people can't handle the same amount or same level of honesty that they're giving out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
100%.
in a sense, he was saying, yeah, be honest, but just be careful about how you're being honest because expect it to come right back to you.
Right. Yeah,
You know?
100%.
So
Yeah.
I think I definitely agreed with him on that aspect. I think that
it has to come in a tactful way. You
it
can't,
does.
that's why I'm like brutally. No, I would never just be brutally honest. But if there's an issue, I would rather address it head on than be polite about it, and because that gets. I mean,
right.
it might get you somewhere, but it's going to take a whole lot longer.
Yeah, no, yeah, facts. So we are getting ready to round this thing out, but on No Cap, you know, obviously I'm a finance manager at the dealership.
Yes.
I like to try to implement some sort of financial literacy whenever I can.
Great.
So we're going to round the show out by talking about a few things here. You know all too well about credit.
Credit.
Right? What does credit mean to you? When did you learn about it? And how has it affected you? And what advice would you give to anybody watching the show about credit?
So I learned about it from my parents, thank God. We actually did have a class in my high school about like consumer education.
Which is crazy because they don't teach it in schools.
I know. They don't teach a lot. Like I had driver's ed in high school.
You had driver's ed in high school?
Yeah,
wow.
it was
They definitely
like
stopped doing that. Sorry to cut you off. It's funny you say that because I was actually in Mississippi. So I'm from Mississippi. When I was in school, swimming was a class. So like
that would have been great.
Right? So PE, right? Here PE is go play basketball for an hour, right? When I was in school, gym time was during the week, but on Fridays we went to the YMCA. We had to learn how to swim. We had to learn how to canoe. We snorkeled.
Those are useful tools to have.
Right? We even learned how to fish.
There's a lot of water in the world.
Exactly right. Especially where I was from too. Seriously, like where I was from in Biloxi, Mississippi. You know, there's nothing but water.
Shout out Biloxi.
Shout out Biloxi. That's the
nice
hometown.
Place.
Yeah,
it's a nice place.
So it's funny going back to you talking about driver's ed. I didn't get a chance to go through that class because I was too young at the time. But older friends of mine, I remember them having to go through driver's ed. So
yeah,
they don't teach that. They don't have financial literacy. There's so much that they don't have anymore.
It's sad too. Like they've gotten rid of a lot of, I think, what the most important learning blocks of life are in school.
Yeah.
Like which I don't have kids. Thank God, honestly, because I could not do Common Core math.
Y'all be quiet back there. Right. We don't like y'all.
Don't come in my office. No. Yours are the easiest to deal with. I promise. No cap.
Appreciate that.
But no, like we learned a lot of cool stuff in PE too, though. Like, because I had, God, she was there from I think early '90s. Miss Faulkner, Coach Faulkner. So we had split PEs. Boys and girls were different. We did archery, bowling. I mean, we did. Yeah. I mean, also pickleball. Literally, my school started doing pickleball in the '90s. So I don't know what all these new things is about. Like that's a legend in my high school. That was like Christmas tournament.
My kids play something called Gaga Ball now. Do you know what that is?
I don't know.
I have no idea what that is.
It's got to be a version of another game.
It's got to be, right? Yeah. My oldest Isaiah, he's always like, "Oh, we play Gaga Ball today." I'm like, "Whoa, you play what? Whose balls did you play with?"
You know? Who's Gaga?
Right. Lady Gaga came to your school. Like what?
Yes.
But yeah, no, it's crazy. It's probably a version of it, like you said. So yeah.
What was the original question?
Credit. Yeah, we talked about we went from credit to PE. That just shows you where our mental health is. Okay, we're happy go lucky.
Yeah.
Credit. Yeah. So summarize what credit is and how.
Okay. Yeah. So when I was 18, my mom basically helped me fill out a credit application for Maurice's, the clothing store.
Oh yeah.
Put it in my name. She paid the bill. It was like a $750 limit, and you don't get that.
I was balling back then.
You don't get like that at stores now.
$7,500 now. You know. Okay.
So I mean, I never like. She was like, please don't ever spend that much because she on the print. I didn't know at the time it was because she, buy a little, pay it off, buy a little, pay it off. Right. They have always financed their vehicles to this day. They're in their, I won't tell their full age, but they're in their less than mid 60s or higher than mid 60s. they will still finance a vehicle. Because I'm like, why do you do that? Like you go to the bank, get your own financing. You could write a check. I mean, and it's because credit. They're like, you're always going to need it. So I've known that from very early on. To say I was good at it, no, because I thought, I didn't know that a buy here, pay here does not report to your credit in a good way. They will in a bad way sometimes, depending on the place. But when I initially had started at Victory, I assumed that if I didn't touch my credit for whoever knows how long, that it would just stay the way it was. Like, and I was a good 700, and I was like, I just won't do anything.
Yeah.
Over 5 years, you don't do anything. The first time you pulled my credit, you were like, so it shows a 0, but there's history. Like, it shows that you've bought a vehicle.
Right.
And then I was like, I bought 2, and that's when I figured out the second one did nothing for me except give me a ride.
Yeah.
So I immediately, started learning how, you need it. You've got to have it if you want. Sadly, we're getting to a place where if you don't have it, unless you're just rich and you can afford to write checks for stuff, you're going to be very lucked out. A lot of people don't understand. And it's weird because, I'll talk to my family now and they're like, who are you? Like, you're talking about interest rates and this and that. And I'm like, I learned it all from Mel. Like, I didn't, and Jordan, and Bradley, obviously. But I think that credit is, to build your credit gives you financial freedom because it is that shows the bank how much credit you're worth.
Yeah.
What have you done to make yourself worthy of what we're trying to give you?
Right.
If you don't give anything, and that's in life too. If you don't give anything into something, why would you expect them to give it back? Like,
right. Exactly. The message I want to get across is that for people watching is that it's okay to come to a dealership just to get advice.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. And a lot of people don't.
They're terrified.
They're terrified.
They're that poor girl I had last week. Her objection, and it took so much diving into just to realize she has anxiety.
That's all it is.
She didn't want to talk to a bunch of guys. She was like, "Can I just come in your office?" I was like, "Girl, yes." Yeah. And then she's like, "I got anxiety." I'm like, "Me too." Join the club.
Right. Exactly.
But you shouldn't be scared of dealerships. These people are here. We're here to give you. And that's why I do like the BDC also, because, they knock me for as much as I use Matador, but I feel like I can really personalize myself quicker. If I don't get you on the phone, it's 2020. It's almost 2024.
Right.
People don't. You know how many people call my phone from numbers that I don't know? Exactly. And guess what? I don't answer any of them.
None of them.
So if I don't get an answer, I am going to immediately send you a text. Exactly. Hopefully before the AI bot gets me. Yeah. Because I can make my first text sound like a human. Yeah. And I do well that way. Like, sorry, Jason Mike, but I managed to do okay with my texting. Right. I've been better on calls, but they still ain't answering all the time.
Right. No. Right. But no, that's awesome, Laura. But yeah, I think it's just important for people to understand that dealerships can be intimidating. They can be. Yeah. Especially when you don't know what to do, how to do it, how to get what you want. Right. But I will tell anybody, especially the younger generation, anywhere between 18 all the way up to 30. Yeah. If you are getting ready to buy your first car or your second car even, or your third car, whatever, you're getting ready to buy a car and you have questions, come ask a manager what you need to do, what they think you should do, explain what you're trying to do, and allow them to guide you through that process. Because no shade on salesmen. I was a salesperson. No shade on them, but people don't understand that the salesperson is there to sell a car. Yeah. Right? If you're not ready to buy a car, then you need to speak to somebody who is not, their job isn't to sell you a car. Right?
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, so that's just my little
And I'd say of the guys that I work with, I mean, all of you guys will answer any question. I've
Yeah.
never seen it. And like you said, Chase, it's like he does Jedi mind tricks. Like
Yeah.
he'll say stuff and I'm just like, now it's like he
Yeah.
knows how to speak layman's terms, and he
Right.
will make it to where you understand this is why or this is why not, and this is where you need to go. And you and Bradley are too. There's been a few moments when you speak finance terms to me, and I'm
Yeah.
going,
Right.
the wheels are turning, but
Right.
nothing's happening.
Right.
And then JoJo will come and speak like my language, and I'm
Yeah.
like, got it.
Right,
That
right.
okay, now I get it.
Yeah.
But I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love my job.
That's
I'm glad I barely lasted at that other job because it was not okay.
That wasn't it.
It was
wasn't working
not
out.
it.
Yeah.
And I mean, and it proved to do better for me. So coming back. So
Well, good. Well, Laura, we're so glad to have you at work, have you at Victory Honda. And I'm so glad that you stopped by the show today. It means the world to me. So
it was fun.
You're officially famous. You can pop your collar now.
Pop my whole hoodie.
And with that being said, y'all, we out.